My father went over across the road with a shotgun trying to see if he could see anything, and he said he saw something with red eyes. Something that he saw with red eyes, and he said there aren't really any animals native to this area that have red eyes.
This is Emily Strickland, and I am from Guysville, Ohio. So, on October 10th, 2019, my dogs and I started off on our evening walk. And we started down our hill. When we got to the bottom of the hill, I looked up and I said, "What's that?"
7 encounters, 7 terrifying stories of something massive stalking the forests. Rocks hurled, creatures glimpsed in the moonlight, daylight sightings, and giant footprints leave witnesses shaken. Each story adds a piece to the puzzle of the unknown. Could Bigfoot be more than myth and closer than we think? Footage, courtesy Animal Planet. In the bright daylight filtering through the windows, Cliff stepped forward with a calm confidence, his voice carrying just enough urgency to make the room lean in. He thanked everyone for being there, making it clear that this wasn't just another town hall. This was a gathering of the few whose knowledge truly mattered. He offered a special thanks to Mayor Tim Brett for inviting them back for a second time, noting that this meeting had been intentionally kept small and closed to the public.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very, very much for coming out. I want to thank you as participants in the town hall. I also want to extend a very, very special thank you to Mayor Tim Brett because he's invited us back here for a second time.
This is a much smaller meeting. We didn't open it up to the public because we wanted the people who really knew about information that we'd be able to act upon.
Only those with real, actionable information had been invited, and as Matt scanned the room, he knew they had the right people. One man suddenly rose from his seat, the room falling quiet as he introduced himself. "My name's David." A moment later, another stood beside him, Matthew. Their story dated back to last April, on a night lit only by a full moon. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving the woods wrapped in silver light. Without warning, a rock came hurtling out of the darkness and smashed against the side of their car. They turned just in time to catch a glimpse of a massive figure vanishing into the trees behind them. Neither man could explain what they had seen, only that it was enormous, powerful enough to launch rocks, and able to move with unbelievable speed.
And it looks like we've got some here.
My name's David.
My name's Matt.
And this happened back last April. The sun had already set, but there was a full moon out. A rock come flying out of the woods and hit the car. And we turned around just in time to see it disappear into the woods behind us. I can't explain what it was. I don't know what it was. It was big, it could throw rocks, and it could move like nobody's business.
Another witness stepped forward, explaining that she and her husband had been on their way home, easing their car over the hill that night. Then, without any warning, a massive figure strode out onto the road, fully exposed in the sweep of their headlights. It was enormous, far larger than anything they could have imagined appearing in their path. And then the sound came, a deep, gut-wrenching roar that seemed to vibrate through the air and settle in their bones. Her voice wavered as she stepped forward, eyes still haunted by the memory. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It scared me immensely."
My husband, we were coming home and we were going across the hill. This thing stepped out in plain view on the road. This thing was so big, and the noise it made was gut-wrenching. I'm sorry, it scared me tremendous. I still have nightmares.
The encounter had left a mark so deep that even now she was still haunted by nightmares, reliving the terror of that night over and over. Another witness, a man named Matt, leaned forward with a serious expression as he began sharing what he knew about the area. He explained that the national government owns a vast stretch of land there, territory that is completely off limits to the public. Back in World War II, he said, the atomic bomb was built on this very property.
Hey guys, my name's Matt Sieber. The national government has a very large piece of property in this area that is off limits to people. Back in World War II, the atomic bomb was built here. Don't cross the fence. Don't go through the gate. You'll be in a lot of trouble. That area, I've had security officers have actually seen things. I've had people contact me where they've seen road sightings.
Don't cross the fence, don't go through the gate, you'll end up in serious trouble. Matt went on to describe how even security officers had reported strange occurrences, and how several people had contacted him after witnessing unusual roadside sightings. He had even discovered actual tracks himself, evidence that something was moving through the restricted area, something that definitely wasn't supposed to be there.
The government could tell you if they were willing to. I can get you guys as close to this facility as legally possible.
Mayor Tim vetted some great witnesses for us for our town hall meeting, and they each marked their sighting location on a map. But before we go to those witnesses, we have to check out this property across from this top secret base that Matt Sieber's been talking about. This is an enormous sprawl of government land that's completely off limits to unclassified personnel.
What do you think? Could all these witnesses be seeing the same thing? Or is something else lurking in these restricted woods? Comment below and let us know if you believe these encounters are real. Footage courtesy. Flash of beauty Bigfoot revealed. During a Boy Scouts trip, Kevin Keeney, later known as Arizona Squatch, and his group experienced rocks flying, heavy footsteps, and a terrifying roar that shook the forest, marking the beginning of his lifelong pursuit of the unknown. He recalls a night marked by a massive rock being thrown, heavy footsteps, and dismissive leaders who insisted it was just elk.
We had an incident with a big rock being thrown and hearing the heavy footsteps and, waking our scout leaders up, and they're, guys, knock it off, you're just hearing elk or something like that, until the big tree got snapped, and one of the scout leaders discharged a pistol in the air, and you could hear what sounded like elephant running through the trees. And then a little bit later, you hear this, wah!
Until a large tree snapped. When one of the scout leaders fired a shot into the air, something ran off through the woods with the force and sound of an elephant. Moments later, they heard a deep, resonant vocalization echo through the forest. The man comes from a family deeply connected to the wilderness, with a lifelong tradition of hunting, fishing, and exploring remote areas.
And, did a lot of long-distance backpacking, solo backpacking, wilderness survival expert. Did 5 years in the military, have my family. My family's always out in the wilderness. Big hunter, big fishing. And, little while later, started looking for footprints and stuff like that because of stuff we'd seen on TV shows and that. And it really got started for me back in 2017 on a family outing when we had, some activity, found footprints and wood knocks and whistles and little stuff like that.
His curiosity about Bigfoot was first sparked by television shows, but it became personal in 2017 during a family outing when he encountered fresh footprints, mysterious wood knocks, and strange whistles echoing through the forest. Intrigued by these signs, Kevin began to study and track such activity more seriously. Now retired, he has dedicated himself fully to the pursuit, logging over 14,000 hours in the field, boots on the ground, carefully observing and documenting unusual phenomena in northern Arizona's forests. Kevin captured a short video and succeeded in provoking the creature to respond.
So I got real curious about what's going on, and being retired, I was like, I've got to spend more time into this, and so that's what I've done. And, since July of 2017, I'm over 14,000 hours out in the field, boots on the ground, doing what I do. By the time I really got into this, my dad had already passed. And, we used to go camping every year. And I can remember when I was real little, I'd always want to sit on a log and look for bears.
The instant he stopped recording, about 30 yards ahead, beyond a dense thicket of young pines and brush, a deafening, bone-chilling vocalization erupted, unlike anything he had ever heard. The sound struck him with a wave of fear, reverberating through his body and shaking him to his very core.
That I had this interaction with when I was, 13-year-old Boy Scout, level of trust between myself and them started developing. They would let the younger ones come around, as long as as always, I'm watching you. Everything's okay. You've got nothing to worry about, but I'm watching you. And it was never an uneasy feeling. It was always calming until it got to the point to where it was like, when you're out here, there will always be one watching over you.
Kevin decided to head back to camp, walking uphill toward it, about 350 to 400 meters away. As he made his way through the forest, he became aware of heavy, unmistakably bipedal footsteps just 20 to 30 yards to his right, keeping pace with him. Despite the enormous weight behind each thud, nothing was visible in the dense underbrush. Confused, uneasy, and increasingly tense.
And I go probably about 40, 50 yards and I come across a very large rattlesnake and I'm thinking, oh, dinner. And so then I start having this weird conversation with myself, and I don't know why I'm having it, of, why do you want to kill him? Well, because I like the way rattlesnake taste. And, so this kind of a weird off-the-wall conversation's going on in my head, and I just have no idea why I'm doing this, because I love eating rattlesnake. And
Kevin struggled to comprehend how something so massive could move so close without being seen, a chilling reminder of the mysterious presence that shadowed him through the trees. After 14,000 hours tracking unexplained phenomena, does Kevin's story prove Bigfoot is real, or is there another explanation? Footage courtesy: Small Town Monster. The investigative team, known for exploring the country's most mysterious Bigfoot sightings, left the forests of the Adirondacks and traveled to western Massachusetts to uncover more about the elusive creature in the northeast. Along the way, they noticed that Kinderhook was right on their route, so they decided to stop in this small Hudson Valley town. There, they met Bruce Hallenbeck, a key figure in Bigfoot research and co-author of Monsters of the North Woods, who could reveal more about the mysterious creature.
Creature sightings and Bruce and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. If in some of these regions, it's not what you would expect. Albany, New York, the capital of New York, if you go just 10 miles south, you will run into Kinderhook, New York. They have a creature down there. The leading expert on the Kinderhook creature is Bruce G. Hallenbeck. And Bruce Hallenbeck, several members of his family have had close encounters with a creature and multiple creatures down in that region.
The story of the Kinderhook creature begins long before sightings made headlines. It starts with a family encounter that would leave a lasting impression. One day, Barry, a cousin of the storyteller, was setting traps in the swampy land behind his parents' house when he came running back, pale and shaken.
In or around 1980, which is not all that far removed from the A-Bear incident of 1976. This was a time in history where Bigfoot sightings were happening all over the country, and there was a general sense that it's all right to talk about these things.
The creature or creatures in the Kinderhook area.
It's very elusive, whatever it is.
In fact, Hallenbeck says this thing is so elusive that he'll sometimes see tracks, and then they suddenly stop, as if the creature had vanished into thin air.
Can you walk us through the Kinderhook creature events?
The Kinderhook creature story really is, in a way, the story of my grandma.
He had seen 3 strange creatures across the creek. Tall, bipedal beings covered in reddish-brown hair, making eerie clacking and grunting sounds. This terrifying moment would mark the beginning of a family legacy intertwined with the mystery of the unknown. Later that year, the storyteller's grandmother began noticing strange activity around her home.
Creature curled up in the fetal position on her lawn, and she watched for a minute thinking it was a bear that was going to get up and walk, lumber away. Whatever it was got up, stood on 2 legs, and walked away. And they wrote to the Times-Union back then, a columnist named Barney Fowler, and he dubbed it the Kinderhook creature.
Close encounter with the creature.
Oh, he was big, tall, and he was standing on his 2 feet just like a person, and covered with black hair.
So he published a letter, and as a result of that, scores of other people wrote in saying that they had had similar experiences. They'd either seen something or they'd heard something they couldn't explain.
Trash bags were disappearing from her porch, only to be found in the middle of the yard, untied and rifled through, as if someone or something was searching for food. It seemed to have fingers, she thought. Soon she learned that her neighbor, Mrs. Walters, was experiencing the same disturbances. One day, she even found her trash bag hanging in a tree. Then, one early morning around 5 o'clock, as the first light of day crept in, the grandmother looked out her kitchen window and froze. On the ground, curled up in a fetal position, was something humanoid, but clearly not human. Horror washed over her that made her blood run cold.
There was also, I think it was when we made the tape, if I'm not mistaken, that my father went over across the road with a shotgun trying to see if he could see anything, and he said he saw something with red eyes. Something that he saw with red eyes, and he said there aren't really any animals native to this area that have red eyes. So that was part of it.
Still plays.
It's still, oh, you have the original one? Is that in there?
I was wondering if it was some kind of bird thing, but
Yeah, it would make weird bird noises. I was telling him about that.
when we shined the light on it, and then a couple of seconds later, it was down at the other end of the field where that driveway.
Yeah, move fast, whatever it was, or there were two of them.
Fast, whatever.
But he said he saw something with red eyes.
Red eyes.
She watched for a long moment, thinking it might just be a bear that would soon get up and walk away. But then, to her shock, the creature slowly stood up on two legs. It moved with surprising grace, walking off into the dim morning light, leaving her frozen with fear. The sight was so strange and unforgettable that a local columnist, Barney Fowler, later wrote about it in the Times-Union, calling them the Kinderhook creatures. Reports of strange encounters kept coming in, each more unsettling than the last. Up the road, a man named Philip Weingard claimed he saw a creature in a swamp matching the typical description and said it was making a horrible, spine-chilling sound. Another remarkable sighting came from Mike Babb, who was fishing at a nearby dam one afternoon. In broad daylight, he saw a creature emerge from the woods across the creek. It had reddish-brown hair, large dark eyes, and even black fingernails that were clearly visible. After observing it for a moment, the creature turned and disappeared back into the forest, leaving Babb stunned. With so many eyewitnesses describing tall bipedal creatures with reddish-brown hair and unsettling behavior, the question remains, are the Kinderhook creatures just a local legend, or is something truly out there in the forests of the Northeast? Footage courtesy, Cabin in Woods. It began with an unassuming YouTube upload in the fall of 2012, one of those clips that didn't seem remarkable at first. A group of campers in Provo Canyon, Utah, had been filming what they believed was a bear shifting through the brush. But when the dark figure suddenly straightened and rose upright, everything shifted. A jolt of shock ran through the group, and within moments they were retreating fast, realizing they might have captured something far more mysterious than ordinary wildlife.
My name's Robert. I'm a Canadian filmmaker and researcher, and ever since having my own Sasquatch encounter in September 2024, I felt compelled to dig as deeply as it took to discover the truth about these mysterious beings. So join me on this deep dive as I investigate 3 pieces of footage that captured real, living Sasquatches.
The campers insisted the moment began as nothing more than a curious sight in the brush, just a dark shape they casually assumed was a bear. But that certainty shattered almost instantly.
But when the dark figure in the brush suddenly stood upright, the group reacted with shock and understandably retreated very quickly. The clip went viral almost immediately, getting millions of views and gaining national media coverage.
One of them lifted a simple consumer video camera, its exact model never revealed, and began recording. The footage shows a massive, shadowy figure crouched low to the ground before it slowly, almost deliberately, rises to its full height, revealing something none of them were prepared to see. When the figure stands up, that's when things get interesting. Some people say it's just a blurry shape that you can't really make sense of, but others think the video shows something more. As the creature rises, it looks like a large left arm swings into view, an arm that doesn't match the shape or position of a bear's front leg when it stands on 2 feet.
As I was scrubbing through this zoomed-in version, I noticed what is obviously a head. The people filming commented that they could see the creature looking at them, and when I see this head, particularly the visible darkening contours on one side, I can see that it is indeed hunched over, facing them in this ominous, aggressive pose, And there's no doubt that this is the compact head sitting squarely on the shoulders with no neck to speak of that is so commonly reported.
While reviewing the zoomed-in footage frame by frame, the observer noticed what appeared to be a distinct head. The campers who filmed the encounter had already mentioned that the creature seemed to be watching them, and the close-up supported that claim. The head shape, especially the dark shading along one side, suggested a figure hunched forward, facing them in a tense, almost aggressive posture.
The figure rises from a crouch to an upright stance with these long arms and this frighteningly imposing frame that makes anyone who watches it for the first time feel their skin crawl. These movements are consistent with numerous Sasquatch descriptions and are honestly more difficult to explain away as a bear.
It also showed a compact headset directly on the shoulders with little to no visible neck, a feature frequently described in many reported Sasquatch sightings. After carefully watching the footage, the observer reached a clear conclusion. He said the encounter was real and described it as strong evidence supporting the existence of Bigfoot. In his view, the video showed something unusual and convincing enough that it couldn't easily be explained as an ordinary animal or a trick of the light. Could this be the moment we finally have proof that Bigfoot is real, or is it just another shadow in the woods? Footage courtesy DMAX UK. The BFRO team returned to town for another town hall, bringing their latest findings on Bigfoot sightings across the region. As they spoke to the crowd, one team member asked, "How many of you have actually seen one?" A few hands went up, showing that curiosity, and maybe belief, still runs strong.
Yeah, Renee is not with us right now. She's actually doing field work, but we are checking back in with her every chance we get to keep her up to date on what we're finding, because one of these days, we're going to convince her. Skeptics have a lot of explaining to do, especially when we look at the mountains of evidence that are coming in.
How many of you have actually seen one? Oh, good.
Those freak flags fly.
With mountains of evidence piling up, skeptics are left searching for answers. But the real question hanging over the room was clear. Could these elusive creatures be closer than anyone imagined? A girl named Emily Strickland from Guysville, Ohio, stood up to share her unforgettable encounter. On the evening of October 10th, 2019, she took her dogs for their usual walk as the sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows across the path.
My name is Emily Strickland, and I am from Guysville, Ohio. So, on October 10th, 2019, my dogs and I started off on our evening walk, and we started down our hill. When we got to the bottom of the hill, I looked up and I said, "What's that?"
As they reached the bottom of the hill, her dogs suddenly froze, ears perked and growls low in their throats. Emily looked up, her heart racing, and whispered, "What's that?" There, partially hidden among the trees, stood a massive Bigfoot-like creature, its presence both terrifying and impossible to ignore. Later, Emily and her daughter returned to the area where she believed the Bigfoot had gone. Carefully scanning the ground, her daughter spotted a large, unmistakable footprint pressed into the soil. She took several photos, capturing the deep imprint and the clearly defined toes.
It was a Bigfoot creature. Then my daughter and I went out, and she went where I believed the Bigfoot went, and she did find a footprint. She took a couple of pictures.
Let's take a look at this photo.
Oh yeah, toes.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Emily examined the images closely and said, "Oh yeah, you can see the toes. This is incredible." The discovery left them both awed, a tangible sign that something extraordinary had indeed passed through that spot. Out in the remote countryside, Emily Strickland welcomed Matt, a member of the BFRO team, to her property. Matt looked around and said it was beautiful out there. Emily thanked him and introduced her daughter Rachel, who greeted him. Matt nodded and asked if the incident had happened down the hill about a year ago.
Well, hello.
Hello.
You're way out in the country.
Indeed.
Wow, it's beautiful out here.
Well, thank you.
So, Emily, this must be your daughter.
Yes.
And what's your name?
Rachel.
Nice to meet you, Rachel. Thank you for coming out and meeting with me. So the incident happened down in there.
It did.
About a year ago.
Yes.
Could we go down and take a look and,
We sure
and
can.
see what that looks like?
Emily confirmed it and asked if they could go take a look. Matt agreed, saying, "Let's see what we're dealing with." As they walked toward the site, the anticipation was palpable. Everyone knew this wasn't just a casual walk in the country. Something extraordinary had left its mark here.
So after I fed my dogs, I decided if they were going to get their walk, we needed to go then because I didn't want it to get dark.
About what time of day would that be?
After I get home from work in the evening.
Okay. And so that day, were you doing the same thing or are you doing it different?
Well, I started out doing it the same way. The dogs and I got to almost.
Emily and her dogs were almost at the bottom of the hill when the animals suddenly went on high alert, noses twitching and sniffing wildly in every direction. Then, out of nowhere, a deep, guttural sound echoed through the air. Emily froze, looked up and whispered, "What's that?" Emily pointed to a lighter-colored bush and explained that the sighting had occurred right in front of it.
The lighter colored bush.
Yeah.
Right in front of that is where the sighting was.
It was in front of that?
Yes.
Oh, so it was
in
like
front of-
out in the open?
Yes, it was out in the open.
Oh, so, okay, that's good. So with that exposed to the sky, you would have been able to see the color pretty well.
Yes. The eyes were what really got me. They were blue.
The creature had been out in the open, fully exposed to the sky, making its features clearly visible. What struck her most were its eyes. They were piercing blue and seemed to look right through her. The creature had stood perfectly still, observing her, its arms held in a certain way and covered with thick fur that hung down noticeably. It had to be a very large creature for Emily to notice all those details, especially the striking eyes, which suggested a sizable head.
Most people assume that Bigfoots are either black or dark brown in color, but witnesses report different colors of fur, just like with human hair or with bear fur. They'll also see gray-furred ones, they'll see reddish-furred ones, and sometimes even blondish, light-colored furred ones. So black and brown isn't the only colors.
The fact that it had been out in the open during daylight raised questions. Why would a creature that large expose itself like that? Matt hoped that Rachel might help shed some light on why it would appear so openly. It had been wet at the time, and the soil was soft, which made the impression of the creature's massive weight all the more clear. Emily recalled how the ground had pressed down under something incredibly heavy. A few days later, she returned to the area with her daughter, hoping to find any evidence the creature might have left behind. That's when Rachel spotted a footprint and quickly snapped a photo. But as soon as the picture was taken, she looked up and froze.
And what's this?
That's peanut butter.
Did you put that up there?
We did. Together.
How long ago did you do that?
Maybe a month or so ago. 6 weeks, a
And
month.
has anything unscrewed the cap and dug in and gotten anything?
Not that we know of. We're waiting.
Okay. Nice little offering and right at the place where you knew it was standing. And which way was the track headed?
It's headed this way.
Okay.
Towards the ridge.
So you noticed the footprint here and you took a picture.
Yeah.
And you got that picture with you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great.
Here it is.
Wow.
Standing nearby was a black, hairy figure watching them intently. The moment was electric, terrifying, and unforgettable. A glimpse at something that shouldn't exist, yet undeniably did. This was particularly striking because Emily had seen the creature clearly, and not long after, her daughter Rachel also encountered it.
So you took this picture and you looked up and you thought you saw something standing over here.
My mom had told me her story, and then we went a few days after to go check out the area and see if we could find anything that the Bigfoot left behind. And I saw a footprint, and I took a picture of it. And right after I took a picture, I looked up and I saw a black hairy thing looking at me.
This is pretty impressive because not only did Emily see one pretty clearly, but not long after, her daughter Rachel also saw one, and I know it spooked both of them.
The experience had clearly shaken them both, and it was no surprise they had been avoiding the area ever since, especially after discovering a footprint as large as that. Footage courtesy, Salish Sasquatch. On a summer evening in July 2000, as the sun dipped low over La Push, Washington, Rich Jamo was heading in for his swing shift as a police officer, unaware that he was about to witness something that would change his life forever. Since 2008, he has dedicated himself to Bigfoot research, but this first encounter marked the beginning of that journey. Before diving into the world of the unknown, Jamo had served in the Marine Corps Reserves and spent 15 years in law enforcement, leaving the force in 2012. As he made his way down the winding road about 75 yards ahead, a massive figure suddenly stepped out from the dense brush along the ocean side.
Related incident that I had was I was a cop working in La Push, Washington in the year 2000. It was July. I was coming into work on the swing shift about 7 p.m. I was driving down onto the reservation where I came around the corner at Second Beach on La Push Road where you're coming down into the lower reservation, and there's kind of a straight stretch from that parking area where the trailhead to Second Beach is, where you head down towards Lonesome Creek, and there's a fish hatchery on the right and the Lonesome Creek store on the left.
Towering and unmistakably powerful, it moved with surprising agility, crossing the road directly in front of him. The figure continued until it reached the fence line at the edge of the Lum Creek Fish Hatchery, where it paused for just a moment before disappearing entirely into the thick, tangled salmonberry bushes. The suddenness and size of the creature left an unmistakable impression on him, a moment that would linger in his memory for years to come.
And I just pulled in my driveway, and immediately when I stepped out of my car, I got like a volume 10, like maximum volume, high-pitched Sasquatch scream that came from right here. And I was in the driveway right there when it happened. So, I mean, parked in front of that garage door. So that's how close it was. I mean, it was right on top of me. And so I basically just acted like it didn't happen and just walked right into the house and went inside.
The creature was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It moved upright on two legs, towering at an estimated 8 feet in height and weighing between 800 and 1,000 pounds. Its massive frame was covered in thick, dark hair, a deep brown that appeared almost black in the dim light. Every movement conveyed immense strength, yet it carried itself with an unsettling quietness, leaving no doubt that this was a being far beyond any ordinary animal he had ever seen. He struggled to make sense of what he had just seen, trying to fit the creature into some familiar category, some logical identification box, but nothing matched. What he witnessed didn't seem possible. Part of him immediately recognized what it was, yet his mind refused to accept it. For a few intense moments, he wrestled with the impossibility until the truth settled in. He had just seen a Bigfoot.
After the incident, and even once or twice before, they were definitely in here. I heard him like jump down off of like something and take off running on 2 feet, but I didn't see him go through the brush and stuff right in this area right out here. Camera on this tree pointed back towards right here. And so I was going through on this camera and had like a ring of 25 keys.
Shock and excitement hit him at the same time. His heart was racing, his thoughts spinning, but he still felt a sense of safety inside the car. The encounter wasn't frightening so much as overwhelming, a moment that pushed the boundaries of what he believed was real. He paused and listened closely. "Do you hear that tapping?" camera women asked, sensing movement behind him. Something had shifted in the brush, a heavy, unmistakable sound. He could tell whatever it had size to it. With deer common in the area, he knew the woods were often busy, but this felt different.
When they started researching the site, and somehow they tracked down 10 different people from this island that had had sightings right in this road right down here, right in the main road, over like a 10-year span, right? 9 of them Bigfoot, 1 of them something else.
What was the other something else?
Like a dog man, but it was short, it was like 5 feet tall, and they said that it had a glimmeriness to the hair was sparse on it, and it had...
The tapping continued, though the overgrown vegetation made it nearly impossible to see anything through the thick tangle of brush that had grown up since earlier years. For nearly 8 or 9 months, he stepped away from anything Bigfoot related. Eventually, curiosity drew him back, and he decided to see whether he could provoke a response in the area. He began performing wood knocks, repeating the effort for several months without receiving any sign in return. Most evenings, just before dark, around 7 or 8 o'clock, He would head out and follow the same pattern.
I don't think I've been here it's been like 5 or 6 years since I've been here. So,
Since you've been here or Dow?
Here. I don't think I've been to Dow. About the same time I went to Dow, I think. 5, 6 years ago. I was at Dow Creek like last winter.
One knock, then two, then one more, and afterward, he would remain silent to observe. One night, after completing the sequence and starting the walk back toward his house, he finally heard it, a return knock echoing through the trees. He struck a nearby tree once, and the sound came back once. He struck twice, and it answered twice. He knocked 3 times, but this time, the woods fell silent. The brief exchange ended as quickly as it had begun, leaving him with more questions than answers. Was that tapping just a coincidence, or a direct answer from something we can't explain? Footage courtesy Travel Channel. The AIM team moved quietly through the forest, daylight filtering in through the dense canopy, casting shifting patterns across the forest floor. Every rustle of leaves and snapping twig kept them on edge. Suddenly, one member froze, pointing. Wait, do you see that?
Oh. What do we got here?
Look here, boys, look here. Something's being too disturbed and busted up. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Good eye, Willie. Is that mushrooms?
By God, look at this.
By God, it is.
Look at this.
Some oyster mushrooms. Boy, that's a good tip,
this.
bro. By God, if I was guessing, I'd bet they was a Bigfoot had him a mushroom stacked right here. Huh?
Yeah. We just come up on some mushrooms that's been all crumbled up and eaten.
He whispered. The others gathered, eyes widening at the disturbed patch of ground, broken and scattered as if something large had passed through. Willie knelt, inspecting the scene. By God, are those mushrooms? Another leaned in, astonished. Oyster mushrooms. Someone, or something, stacked them here. Willie's grin held awe. If I had to guess, a Bigfoot had a little snack. The AM team crept cautiously through the dense forest, unsure if the creature had made a home here. We'll sneak up, so we can't be seen, one whispered. Bill took the high ground while Willie moved below.
We got a big cable laying right here.
Look back here, Willie. That thing's connected around this big log.
That son of a been there for a while. Me and Wild Bill just made it to the end of that log, and there's a big cable cinched up around the top of it. Got this log all squeezed down, bedded into the bark.
That thing's embedded in there, holy.
We start following the end of that cable out, and right there it was. Something all frayed out and broke off.
Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the underbrush. What was that? Bill shouted. Something massive had burst through. Did you see him? Willie whispered. Just a glimpse. He's huge. Moving slowly, they noticed a crude hut nestled between trees, twigs and branches woven tightly, with a faint trail of mushrooms leading inside. The team froze, awe and fear gripping them. This forest held secrets larger than they imagined.
They're territorial as hell. By God, play around.
All right, stay in here with us, Ken.
I wish I had my weapon with me.
Oh, yeah.
Look here. Look here, look here,
What
look
do you
here.
got?
What do you got?
What do you got, Buck?
Look at this, guys. Get the up here.
Dag.
Gone. Son of a Look at this.
My gosh. I spot that tree right up ahead. I hurry up and get up there. And man, this thing is tore all to shreds.
Look at that.
Oh,
The team froze when Huck suddenly lifted his head, his body going rigid as he stared into the trees, his eyes locked on something none of them could yet see. What's going on? One of the men whispered. He just locked up. He's staring at something down there, another replied. Jory stepped forward cautiously, voice low. It's way bigger than I am, he said, never taking his eyes off the shadows. It's just standing there, maybe 40 yards out, staring right at me. A moment later, it moved. Fast. There it goes! Someone shouted. Branches snapped as the massive shape tore through the brush.
Stay right. Check if that thermal moving.
damn. Man, he's hitting everything up through there.
He sounds like a deer crashing when it's on its way to die.
Yeah, it's exactly like it.
There's something wrong with this Bigfoot. It's stumbling around. It sounds like it's dragging its leg. Something's not right.
Oh, I got him. I got him. You got him? Yeah. He's in the nest. Man.
Within seconds, the forest erupted with sound, like a giant animal crashing through the woods, heavy and unstoppable, as if an elephant was charging just beyond sight. A massive tree suddenly began to topple, sending a thunderous crash through the forest. That Bigfoot just tore that tree down, one of the team shouted. Cowboy Ken quickly zoomed in with the drone, capturing the moment from above. The enormous tree came crashing to the ground, splintering as it fell. The team exchanged stunned looks. You heard that high-pitched squall, then that tree knocked. You know exactly what took it down, one whispered in awe. The footage on Ken's drone confirmed it.
That's a what is that? Oh, look, there's a tree coming down. Son of a that Bigfoot just tore that tree down. Holy Cowboy Ken zooms in on that drone, and there it is, a big ass tree comes crashing to the ground.
Yes,
you heard that
did.
high squall, and you heard that tree knock. You know exactly what took that tree down. That was a Bigfoot. Yes, that Bigfoot, that son of a bitch just ripped that big tree down. And Cowboy Ken,
A massive creature, powerful beyond belief, had ripped the tree from its roots with sheer strength. The team came across a huge honey locust. One of them pointed and whispered, amazed. In front of them stood a massive Bigfoot nest, over 15 feet tall. They had guessed there might be a nest here, but seeing it in person was unbelievable.
oh my. Guys, this is awesome. My gosh. Check this thing out. We've seen Bigfoot nests before with the grass man. What the is this, guys? That's a thing's nest. You look. The Yahoo. It's a nest.
Oh, look at that.
Oh. It is a nest. The Midnight Whistler. But none of them can even hold a candle to what we just found. It's not even like comparing apples and oranges. It's like comparing apples and meatballs. You ought to see the way this thing's weaved together.
Every branch and stick looked carefully placed. This was the biggest Bigfoot nest they had ever seen, a true sign that the forest was home to something mysterious and powerful. The team froze, eyes locked on a movement high in the trees. Look, right there, one whispered. A massive figure strode upright, impossibly large. That's Bigfoot, another gasped. No doubt about it. Excitement and adrenaline surged through the team. We have to track that Bigfoot and find that building, someone said, hearts racing as the forest held its secrets just out of reach. But the real question is, will they catch up to it before it disappears into the forest forever? The YouTube channel, The Trek Planner, is usually known for calm, solo explorations of forgotten trails and historic landmarks. No jump scares, no creatures, just quiet footage of America's hidden places. But for this project, the creator chose something different. Simple stock-style drone footage of untouched forest scenery. Calm, peaceful, predictable, or so it seemed. The location was Farmington Canyon, deep in northern Utah, a place famous for its towering cliffs, thick pine forests, and narrow, winding trails. Beautiful by day, isolated by night. The drone had already been in the air for nearly an hour. The footage looked perfect. Smooth passes over treetops, long shadows stretching across the canyon floor. Nothing unusual, until the final flight. That's when it happened.
A while back, I was flying my drone to get stock footage of forest scenery. I spent about an hour flying my drone, and when I was doing my last flight for the day, I saw something really weird fly by my drone.
Something fast, violently fast, shot straight toward the drone. At first glance, it looked like a bird, maybe an eagle, maybe a large insect. But when the footage was reviewed at home, the theory fell apart. The object wasn't flapping, it wasn't drifting. It was flat, solid, and it moved with force. It didn't fly toward the drone, it was thrown.
Did you see it? I didn't think too much of it until I got home and was reviewing the footage again. In closer inspection, there is this odd object, flying very fast next to my drone. I have no idea what it is. It looks long and flat, and it was flying very fast upward. It doesn't appear to be a bird or insect.
And that raises a terrifying question. Who or what could throw something that high? The drone was far above the tree line. No animal could reach it. No human was anywhere nearby. Yet something below had reacted to being watched. Reports from Utah's wilderness speak of stones hurled from the woods, of warning knocks, of creatures that don't like surveillance. So what struck the drone that day? Wildlife, or something that didn't want to be seen? Have you ever seen drone footage of a Bigfoot in Idaho? If not, this might be one of the most subtle and unsettling captures yet. The video was uploaded by a channel known as Paranormal. And at first, there's nothing unusual about it. Wide open land, a quiet stretch of southern Idaho scenery. The drone floats smoothly over fields and dirt roads, recording what looks like just another peaceful day from above. Nothing feels out of place. Until the camera pans. Mid-screen, barely noticeable at first, a tiny dark dot suddenly appears, moving fast. Too fast. The operator seems to notice it at the same time we do, and quickly begins to zoom in.
Starts off pretty normally, but as we pan across the scenery, you will see mid-screen a very small dot running across the field. As we continue to watch it, apparently the operator noticed it and started focusing in. You'll see just crossed the road and is headed for that clump of trees.
The dot grows clearer as it races across the open field with surprising speed. Whatever it isn't wandering. It's running with intent. Seconds later, the figure reaches the road, crosses it without slowing down, and heads straight for a thick clump of trees on the far side. Just before fully entering the tree line, its silhouette becomes visible enough to raise questions. Upright, long strides.
To me, it appears to be a biped. And then let's pause as it goes to cross the road. Looking at that track, I would say it is probably about 10 feet wide, and it clears it in 2 steps. This really isn't that fantastic of a feat, as I'm about 6'5" and can do the same thing. But it is running at a fairly good clip through light brush.
Then, just like that, it disappears into the woods. So what did we actually witness? It's small on screen, hard to define, but the movement isn't random, it's deliberate, and that's what makes this footage so compelling. Whether this was a Bigfoot or something else entirely remains unknown. Now, it's your turn. Take another look at the footage and tell us what you see. Meet Rob, the quiet adventurer behind the YouTube channel Rob Nixon. This time, he uploaded one of the most controversial drone clips we've seen in a long while. Some viewers dismissed it instantly, calling it a man in a suit, a perfectly timed prank. Others believe it may be one of the most convincing pieces of modern Bigfoot footage ever recorded. But today, we're not here to decide that for you. We're here to show you exactly what happened, and let you decide what you're looking at. Rob wasn't chasing legends that day. He wasn't hunting for monsters. He was just searching for a new fishing spot. Somewhere quiet, somewhere untouched. A place to sit beside the water and disappear for a few hours. He launched his drone for a simple aerial view of the lake and shoreline, hoping to spot a promising inlet. The sky was gray and still. The trees swayed gently. The water didn't ripple. Everything felt perfectly ordinary. And then, something moved. It happened at the edge of the screen, just a flicker at first. A shift so subtle that Rob barely noticed it while flying. He glanced down at the controller in his hands, struggling to see clearly through the glare on his phone. Shadows, he thought. Maybe light cutting through the trees. Nothing worth worrying about. He brought the drone back in, never thinking twice about it. Until later. That night, reviewing the footage in full resolution, something caught his eye. Frame by frame, he slowed it down, zoomed in, enhanced the image, and there it was, standing at the far edge of the tree line across the lake. Tall, upright, moving on two legs, not running, not hiding, just walking. Slow, steady, and deliberate. Dark fur covered its body. No clothing, no gear, no sign of anything human about it. It stepped out from behind the trees, followed the forest line for several seconds, and then disappeared back into the woods. This wasn't a hiking trail. There were no vehicles, no camps, no roads nearby for miles. This was deep wilderness, remote northern Maine, the kind of place where if something is watching you, you'd never know it. And that realization hit Rob hard. He hadn't been alone out there, not really. What makes this footage different is its calmness. No shaking camera, no screaming, no dramatic chase, just a quiet drone flight and a silent figure moving through the trees. Northern Maine already carries a long history of Bigfoot reports from hunters, loggers, and hikers. Stories of tall, bipedal creatures slipping through the forest and vanishing without a trace. So now we leave the question with you. Was this just a trick of distance and shadow? A person where no one should be? Or something far older, caught moving through the wilderness for just a few seconds on camera? This video comes from the YouTube channel JC Brown, which on March 28, 2019, uploaded a clip that immediately sparked heated debate among viewers. Filmed in a remote, wooded area, the footage shows a massive force at work deep within the trees. What appears on screen is difficult to make out clearly, but the movement seems to be powerful. Trees bending, branches snapping, and entire sections of vegetation shifting as if being torn from the ground.
Something happened over there. There's in the trees.
The figure responsible remains obscured, hidden by distance and dense forest cover. There's no clear machinery visible, no obvious signs of logging equipment, yet the destruction looks far too controlled and far too forceful to be explained easily. Some viewers argue it must be a specialized tree cutting machine operating out of sight. Others insist the motion feels wrong for machinery. Too fluid, too intentional. Was the camera catching a rare glimpse of something long whispered about in the woods, or simply a case of mistaken perspective and modern machinery at work? On March 7, 2014, a man deep in Florida's dense, marshy wilderness captured a video that left viewers stunned. The footage shows an ape-like creature calmly walking along a narrow trail before suddenly vanishing into the thick woods. What makes the moment even more unsettling is the man behind the camera. He didn't run or cut the recording. Instead, he stood his ground and continued filming the entire scene, as whatever he was watching disappeared into the shadows. As the footage continues, the creature's movements appear undeniably unnatural. Its long arms swing low as it walks, its posture upright but not quite human. With each step, it drifts farther from view, until the dense vegetation swallows it completely. Speculation claimed it was a bear briefly walking upright. Others suggested a person in a costume. But neither explanation fully accounted for the smooth, unbroken way it moved through the uneven, marshy terrain. To this day, the footage remains one of Florida's most debated sightings. Was it simply a misidentified animal caught at the perfect angle, or did the camera briefly capture something that knows how to stay hidden, slipping back into the wilderness before anyone could follow? On August 28, 2025, what began as a routine patrol through a national park became something far more unsettling. The footage opens from inside a ranger vehicle during daylight, the road ahead calm and familiar. Then, from the tree line, a tall figure steps into view, moving upright on two legs in a way that immediately feels wrong, its posture unnatural, as if it doesn't belong to anything known to roam the park.
Whoa.
Visibly shaken, frozen in disbelief as the figure moves deeper into the forest. Up close, its sheer size becomes impossible to ignore. It stands far taller than any human, its massive frame dwarfing the surrounding trees and thick undergrowth. Long arms hang low, swinging with each slow step, its movements steady, deliberate, and unsettlingly calm. And that's where the footage ends. Without answers, only unease. Was it Bigfoot, as countless legends claim, a giant gorilla where none should exist, or something else entirely, crossing familiar land just long enough to be seen, before slipping back into the wilderness as if it had never been there at all? This video comes from the YouTube channel Sunny Vator, Into the Wild. On January 2nd, 2020, while hunting elk just northeast of Banff National Park in Alberta, outside the park boundaries, the cameraman captured a moment that would leave him questioning everything he thought he knew about the wilderness. As he moved quietly through the forest, alerted to something stirring in the trees, he initially hoped to find a legal bull elk. But instead, his eyes caught a dark figure nestled among the shadows. He quickly grabbed his camera and shot a video before retreating, heart racing. According to experts, the footage reveals what appears to be a large female Sasquatch, resting with a baby pressed to her chest, carefully concealed among the trees. The scene is both mesmerizing and terrifying, leaving viewers to wonder, was this a fleeting glimpse of a creature that has silently roamed these forests for generations, or something else entirely, hidden just out of reach? While the answers aren't clear, one thing remains certain. The wilderness still holds secrets that few have ever witnessed, and some encounters are never meant to be fully understood. This video comes from the YouTube channel Squatch Mafia, featuring his research into ape-like locomotion and cryptids. On a trek through the Himalayas in 1996, a Belgian couple was filming their hiking adventure. While climbing a steep hillside, the cameraman turned back to capture their own footprints in the snow, documenting their trek through the frozen landscape. Suddenly, the camera captured something unusual, a strange figure moving across the snowy slope, something that shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Of course, this film has no context whatsoever. You don't know who made it, you don't know where it was shot, you don't know when it was shot. So basically, this is not evidence, unless you can actually track down the source and ask these people some serious questions.
At first, it may be easy to mistake it for a trick of the snow or a shadow among the hills, but its presence is undeniable. Its movements are fluid and deliberate, shifting from an ape-like posture to fully upright as it traverses the slope with an ease that defies expectation.
My first reaction was, in watching the snowwalker footage, was akin to one of the first times I had seen a gorilla up close in a zoo. its movement and some of the postures that it adopted were strikingly ape-like in character. At the same time, however, I was intrigued because then it sort of made a transition from that ape-like posture into a fully upright posture. I am quite confident in my estimate of scale, which was derived from the witness's snowshoe trackway. Using that trackway as a scale, the subject had to be in excess of 9 feet tall.
Observers comparing the figure to the hiker's tracks estimate a height exceeding 9 feet, towering over the snowy terrain. Skeptics suggest a hoax, a gorilla suit, or a trick of perspective. But the figure's natural, powerful gait, combined with the scale and snow conditions, makes a simple hoax increasingly difficult to accept.
Whether or not this video proves to be evidence of the abominable snowman, it adds another piece to the convoluted jigsaw puzzle that is the hunt for the Yeti.
Was this truly a Yeti, silently crossing the Himalayan wilderness, or a trick of perspective, shadows, and imagination? The mountains remain silent, and the snow walker vanishes as suddenly as it appeared, leaving nothing but unanswered questions and the frozen footprints of a mystery that refuses to be solved. This image was captured in the forests of Washington, Pennsylvania by the National Weather Service, and it is far from ordinary. What they photographed wasn't routine, expected, or easily explained. Within hours, the image spread across the state and then worldwide, raising one unsettling question: what exactly was caught in the background? Let's take a closer look.
National Weather Service posted this photo of their team checking out storm damage in Fayette County, and that's out by Pittsburgh. And look at that, what's going on back there? Yeah, it was just spotted over the border in West Virginia, and now apparently made its way to PA.
What about the dude in the foreground there? Does he even know that's behind him?
It doesn't look like it. He's facing the camera.
Yeah.
So. According to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, Pennsylvania ranks in the top 10 states of Bigfoot sighting.
At first glance, it seemed ordinary. Just trees and a man in the foreground smiling at the camera. But behind him, half hidden in the tree line, stood a shape that didn't belong. Tall, dark, and standing in a way that didn't look human. The man never turned around, never realizing what was only yards behind him. Although no one was harmed and the moment remains only a terrified sighting, the questions still linger. Was it Bigfoot, as many believe, or something else entirely, waiting just out of sight? 7 unbelievable encounters, each more chilling than the last. Rocks thrown, towering figures, guttural roars, and footprints too big to ignore. What do you think is really out there? These stories give you goosebumps. Hit subscribe, like, and comment your thoughts. Which encounter shook you the most? And do you believe Bigfoot is real? Thanks for watching.